On the day my wife's crush got engaged. She jumped off a rooftop. I had been preparing to celebrate our wedding anniversary. Stunned, I ended up eating the feast alone, tears streaming down my face, but before I could even wipe my mouth, I received more devastating news. She had donated half of my assets to charity, and that wasn't all. While sorting out her estate, I unlocked her art studio, only to find it filled, wall to wall, with rough, childish portraits of Makoto. The brushstrokes were messy and amateurish, yet each painting radiated her burning affection. I was furious. Then, when I opened my eyes again, I had been given a second chance. This time, I directly locked her in with the bully. Later, she pounded on the window, hoarse and desperate. "Darling, don't you want me anymore?" Chapter 1. Willow, an astrophysics professor, recently discovered a new asteroid. During an interview about it, her strikingly cold and ethereal beauty catapulted her onto the trending list. The public quickly shifted focus from the asteroid to her nearly otherworldly looks. When it was revealed that she had named the asteroid after the person she loved, the internet erupted, praising the divine romance. While frantically digging into who this Wong was, I scrolled through the comments, the corners of my lips curling so hard, they were harder to suppress than the recoil of an AK. At the end of the video, the reporter smiled and asked, "Miss Liu, do you have anything to say to your beloved Wong?" Willow hesitated. Her eyes, dark as the night sky, quivered slightly. She pressed her lips together and whispered, "Congratulations on your wedding." Her voice was calm, but hidden beneath the surface was a hopelessness so quiet it nearly slipped by unnoticed. I froze. "Congratulations on your wedding." "Oof." David, sitting nearby, teased. "George, that's romantic. Treating your anniversary like a second honeymoon." "Huh? Is that what she meant?" "Maybe." Watching Willow's tender gaze on screen, I felt my cheeks flush red. Willow and I had been together for 10 years. I helped her transform from a depressed, world-weary girl into the graceful and elegant professor she is now. 10 years ago, she transferred schools and became my desk mate. Back then, she was pale as snow, her features delicate as a painting, yet her eyes held only impatience when they looked at me. Now, she names a newly discovered asteroid after me. Even her always cool expression softens when she speaks of it, full of warmth and deep affection. Today is our 1-year wedding anniversary. I booked the same restaurant where I proposed. I had the surprises and gifts all ready, just waiting for her to come home so we could celebrate. But instead, what I got was news of her death. She jumped from the 18th floor. Clutched in her hand was a note. It read, "Death is but a return to the universe. One day, billions of years from now, we'll meet again, among the stars and sea." Chapter 2. I handled Willow's funeral arrangements with David by my side. She had left a will. Everything she owned was to be donated after her death. For some reason, I'd been eerily calm these past few days, watching David grit his teeth in front of Willow's photo, forcing himself to comfort me. I almost wanted to laugh. After the funeral, I received a call from the lawyer. "Mr. Wong, there's an art studio under Ms. Liu's name. It wasn't included in the donation. If you have time, you may want to take care of it." The studio was in the southern suburbs of the city. I opened the door and was struck speechless by the scene before me. The room was filled with portraits. The brushwork was raw, clearly done by a beginner, but the people in the paintings were brought vividly to life by the blazing, unrestrained affection in every stroke. It was Makoto, our classmate from high school. In 10 years, I'd never once heard his name from Willow's mouth. I had no idea her feelings for him were buried so deep. Stumbling forward a few steps, I steadied myself on the table. Laid out neatly on it were several pieces of amber. Each preserved something inside: a piece of fruit candy, a dried flower, a broken bracelet. The amber was smooth and round, clearly something she held often. Lost in memories, those small gifts from Makoto, she had treasured like sacred relics, and the wedding ring I gave her. It lay discarded in a dried-up paint box nearby. My chest throbbed with pain. Each breath caught like a stone lodged in my throat. I sat down and, almost masochistically, opened the notebook on the desk. It was a 10-year-long chronicle of unrequited love. On her first day at the new school, she had received a fruit candy from the boy sitting behind her, along with a kind smile. To her, it was like a beam of sunlight piercing the darkness inside. She was a gloomy girl scarred by domestic abuse and bullying, and that was the first act of pure kindness she had ever known. She fell, completely. She wanted him to smile only at her, wanted to be with him forever, but she also didn't want the light in her heart to be pulled into her darkness. Wong, Makoto's Wong, a name that carried all her longing for him, and now, it had become her farewell to him. I flipped through the notebook from beginning to end. I was barely mentioned, just a few passing lines. The new seatmate is nosy, super annoying. We got married, kinda regret it, but he's rich, so whatever. I drove her to and from work every day. I brought her breakfast because I worried about her low blood sugar. I stood up to her bullies. I carried her out of a burning house set ablaze by her psychotic father. All those years of devotion and sacrifice, she didn't write a word of it. The only thing etched into her heart was that wild, carefree smile of Makoto's. Every single sentence felt like it was slicing through my heart. I clenched my fists and took deep, heavy breaths. The air still carried a faint citrusy scent, like the one she always wore. It made me nauseous. Some people are just trash, unworthy of redemption, unworthy of love. With a violent sweep, I knocked all the amber off the table. A woman like that, she should have died long ago. Just as I was about to stand up, I heard a noise at the door. 2 figures stepped inside. Chapter 3. It was Willow's best friend, Sophia, and Makoto. Sophia's eyes were red and swollen, her voice hoarse, choking on tears. She said, "This place. Willow left it for you. You used to be her only light back then, when her depression nearly pushed her over the edge. It was your photo that gave her the strength to keep going." Makoto stood frozen, stunned, and let out a long sigh. Tears welled in Sophia's eyes as she went on. After she got guaranteed admission to college, she didn't even have to go to class, but she still went every day, just to see you. Only then did she notice me standing behind the bookshelf. She froze, then spat out with pure disgust. "What the hell are you doing here?" She stormed over and shoved me, screaming, "Get out. Don't you dare dirty the only pure place Willow had left. If it weren't for you clinging to her like a damn leech, she wouldn't have ended up like this. You drove her to death." I didn't even bother arguing. Once I found my footing, smack, I slapped her across the face, hard and clean. I shouted, "Are you insane? What the hell does this have to do with me? Did I force her to date me? Did I make her marry me? When I confessed, she could have said no. When I proposed, she could have turned me down. What? Schrodinger's consent, is it? If loving someone and being accepted makes you a stalker who drove someone to suicide, then everyone's a potential murderer." She missed her chance with Makoto because she was a hypocrite, wanting it all and still wanting pity. If she's dead, it's her own damn fault. Suddenly, Makoto's voice broke in, nasal and trembling. She didn't get the love letter I sent her. Sophia and I were both stunned. I asked, "What did you say?" Makoto sighed and said, "Before the college entrance exams, I wrote her a letter, told her how I felt, but she never replied." He gave a bitter smile, lifted his eyes, now shadowed with traces of resentment. He said, "It was you, wasn't it?" He locked his gaze onto me. "You were jealous, so you threw it away, didn't you? You made us miss 10 whole years, and now she's dead, gone forever." I had no idea what he was talking about, but Sophia believed him. She screamed, "You bastard, I'll avenge Willow." The next second, clenching her jaw, she pulled out a stun baton and jabbed it right into me. A violent surge of electricity shot through my body. My muscles seized. I collapsed, like all the strength had been drained from me in an instant. Numbness, searing pain, and burning heat tore through me. My vision went black, and consciousness was swallowed whole. Chapter 4. When I opened my eyes again, I was holding a book, dressed in a school uniform, standing in front of the supply room door. Inside the small room, the teenage Willow leaned against the wall. A lock of hair curled gently by her ear, and her gaze held a faint, confused look as it met mine. Opposite her sat Anna, the classic school delinquent, chewing gum with a contemptuous expression. When she saw me, she raised an eyebrow slightly, narrowed her eyes, and smirked. Well, Mr. Straight A, worried about her. I'm just having a little heart-to-heart, that's all." The texture of the book in my hand didn't feel like a dream. My limbs instantly went cold as hatred surged through me. The book hit the ground with a thud. Expressionless, I shut the door without saying a word, then turned and walked away. But behind me, I heard the door being pushed open. Willow ran past me. Her hair brushed the edge of my shirt, and all she left behind was a fleeting silhouette. Anna muttered behind me, "What's she running for?" I was just asking why she didn't sign up for the performance at the school event. A bad feeling crept up my spine. I quickly picked up my pace and chased after her. At the classroom door, Willow stood there, staring blankly inside at Makoto, who was making his female seatmate laugh uncontrollably. The setting sun cast a soft glow over her figure, wrapping her in a golden halo. Her eyes were full of tenderness, but also disbelief, as if she were trapped in a dream too beautiful to wake up from. My heart slowly sank. Her demeanor wasn't that of a timid, depressed girl anymore. It was more like the graceful calm of the intellectual woman she'd become 10 years later. Willow had come back too. "What are you spacing out for?" Anna asked, puzzled, waving a hand in front of Willow's face. She squeezed past her into the classroom. "Class is starting. Don't block the door." Chapter 5. Following my memory, I found my seat. It was a self-study period. The classroom was quiet, with everyone focused on their work. I randomly flipped open an exercise book and stared blankly at the page, at the neat and innocent handwriting. Now that I had been given a second life, there was no way I'd walk the same path again. My mind gradually cleared, and my emotions began to settle. Since Willow had clearly been reborn too, I doubted she wanted anything to do with me. This life, we'd just stay out of each other's way. If she wanted to self-destruct, that was her business. I'd stay far, far away, wouldn't want her blood splattering on me when she finally crashes and burns. Disgusting. Just as I was thinking that, I suddenly heard Willow's cool voice. She said, "George, give me your English notes." I looked up. What? She gazed down at me from above, cold and detached, like she hadn't noticed that my behavior was completely different from the past. Well, of course, her heart and mind were all on Makoto. She'd long since forgotten everything I ever did for her. Makoto spoke up apologetically. "Sorry, George, I just asked Willow to borrow notes, but she said your English was better. So, here we are. Polite, likable. Too bad that crap doesn't work on me," I replied. "No, I'm still using them." I wasn't. I just didn't want to lend them. Makoto's smile froze. His desk mate, Sophia, rolled her eyes and snapped. "George, you're the class monitor. Helping your classmates is your duty. What's the big deal about lending some notes? Stop being stingy. The fact that someone even wants your notes is a compliment." Her voice was loud enough that the whole class turned to look. David, who sat nearby, slammed down his pen and fired back. "Shut the hell up, you manipulative witch. Stop trying to guilt-trip people. George made those notes himself. Why should he hand them over to a bunch of freeloaders like you? What? You flunk your tests and suddenly that makes you the victim now?" Just as the argument was about to blow up, Willow looked at me. Her voice softened, and she spoke seriously, even earnestly. "George, English is Makoto's weak subject. If he doesn't improve, he won't be able to apply to any schools in City C." I stared at her, speechless. She didn't finish her sentence. But I already knew. In our past life, Willow had gone to university in City C. She wanted to end up in the same city as Makoto. It had only been a few minutes, and she was already imagining a future with him. Compared to that, I was just a clown. Back then, I was sent on a long-term assignment far away. I could only come back every few months, and yet in her diary, she wrote that she enjoyed those days when I wired money home but never showed up in person. I looked down in silence, full of regret for wasting 10 years of my life. Willow, of course, thought I was hesitating. She added, "Didn't you always want me to come over for dinner at your place?" She suddenly seemed to remember something. Her beautiful eyes blinked at me. Flirtatiously, she said, "If you help Makoto improve his English, I'll agree to have dinner at your house once a month." Her tone was lofty, like she was doing me a favor. So in this new life, she couldn't even pretend to speak like a normal human being. I finally lost it. Leaning back in my chair, I stared her straight in the eye and laughed in disbelief. What kind of insane freeloading strategy is that? Are you out of your mind? Or am I? Why is it always me getting the short end of the stick? What am I? Some kind of pathetic simp? Willow blinked, momentarily thrown off. She opened her mouth, about to say something, but at that moment, the homeroom teacher walked into the classroom. Chapter 6. The homeroom teacher entered the classroom, holding a thermal mug, and announced that registration for the A University Guaranteed Admission exam had begun. In our previous life, Willow was admitted to a university through this exact exam. I didn't take it back then. This time, both Willow and I raised our hands. She looked at me with surprise, as if she didn't understand why I was making a different choice than before. Makoto asked, puzzled, "George, you're signing up too?" His voice held a mocking tone, like he was ridiculing me for not knowing my place. He added, "The most important thing for a person is self-awareness. With your grades, if you work hard, you can still get into a decent school, but aiming for guaranteed admission, you're not even close. You're just wasting your time. Or, are you trying to get someone's attention?" He glanced at Willow, who was listening intently. His meaning couldn't be clearer. So sure I couldn't do it. In the last life, I didn't take the exam because Willow's family was struggling financially, and I didn't want to compete with her. And yet, after she got the guaranteed spot, she came to school every day, just to catch a glimpse of Makoto. With that in mind, I calmly replied, "Whether I get admitted or not, how is that any of your damn business? You're literally at the bottom of the class. Is this something you should be worried about?" Makoto was left speechless. Willow, who had been silent until now, snapped at me. "How can you say that? So people with bad grades deserve to be looked down on? Apologize to Makoto right now. He was just trying to help you. Don't be so ungrateful." She scoffed and added, "And if you're trying to get my attention, there's no need to use such childish tactics." God, what kind of twisted logic was that? I couldn't be bothered anymore. I raised my hand toward the teacher. who was clearly enjoying the drama. I said, "Teacher, I want to change seats. There's barking around me. It's affecting my ability to study." Willow's face flushed red. She glared at me furiously. The teacher looked confused but still agreed. After class, I moved to sit next to Anna. She always spaced out, napped, or read novels in the back row. It was quiet here, just the way I liked it. As I organized my things, I caught a glimpse out of the corner of my eye. Makoto's fingertips lightly brushed through Willow's hair. She leaned back slightly, letting her long black hair spread softly across his desk. I rolled my eyes. On our wedding night in the past life, she wouldn't even let me touch her. I had to take a full hour-long shower before she would even let me lie down in the same bed. She thought I was disgusting. Me, disgusting. She really thought her precious crush was some kind of clean-cut saint. Chapter 7. Without Willow in my space, the day went unusually smoothly. After school, the homeroom teacher asked me to stay and help grade some papers. By the time I got back to the neighborhood, it was almost dark. A few middle-aged women were walking their dogs nearby, chatting as they went. One of them said, "Did you hear? That psycho from Building 3 got sent to the mental hospital. His daughter called the cops, said he beat her too badly." Another replied, "I saw it myself. It was awful. Poor girl looked so sweet. How could he bear to hit her like that?" My steps faltered. I lived in Building 3, and that psycho was Willow's father. In our previous life, he often lost control and beat her so badly she'd be covered in bruises. I once stood up for her, even tried to report him to the police, but she told me to mind my own business. It seemed this time, she had chosen not to endure it anymore. Not far ahead, I saw Willow curled up on a bench. Blood seeped from her forehead, making her face look deathly pale. The streetlights flickered. The cold wind blew through her loose hair. When our eyes met, I was caught off guard by the lost, helpless look in hers. I quickly looked away and turned to leave. Expressionless. "George," she called out, her voice trembling, but as if suddenly remembering something. Her gaze turned cold again. She asked, "What are you doing here? What the hell is wrong with this girl?" I didn't want to get dragged into her mess. I picked up the pace. Behind me, I heard her scoff. Willow's voice rang out. "Don't think I don't know what you're doing, trying to play the savior again. You just love swooping in with your so-called kindness when others are at their lowest, don't you? You really think that'll make me like you? Newsflash, it's the exact opposite. I hate that self-righteous, fake-ass version of you the most." Chapter 8. I froze, and once I realized what she'd just said, rage surged through me. That's how she saw me. My care, my feelings for her, to her, it was all arrogant charity, hypocrisy. So the girl I had loved for 10 whole years was actually a complete idiot. "You're wrong," I said through gritted teeth, forcing the words out like poison. "I'm not here to play savior." Then I stepped forward, grabbed her with my left hand, and slapped her across the face with my right, full force. Smack. "I'm here to kick you while you're down." I shot her a withering glare, then turned and walked away, leaving Willow frozen in place, holding her cheek in stunned silence. Ever since I slapped Willow, I'd been feeling great, sleeping deeper, waking lighter. At school, we maintained a silent understanding, complete strangers. Occasionally, I'd hear about her and Makoto. She copied hundreds of pages of notes for him. She made breakfast for him every single day. When he didn't have enough money for his birthday party, she paid for it. When he got injured fighting with some thugs off campus, she skipped class to take care of him. Honestly, it was hilarious. Willow, who used to act so high and mighty with me, had become someone else's simp. Guess real love hits different. Huh? I felt nothing. Actually, I kind of wanted to call her an idiot. Back then, I didn't love Willow just because of her stunning looks. It was because I thought she was different from all those shallow girls. I thought she was smart, self-aware, independent, no drama. But looking at her now, that independent woman image was a complete lie. She wasn't smart, wasn't clear-headed, and had a death wish. Apparently, ever since I cut ties with her, my life had gotten back on track. David, sick of all the drama around Willow, moved to the back row too, and started clinging to me for help with homework. When Anna saw the review materials I was preparing for a university's guaranteed admission exam, something just clicked in her. She suddenly joined me and David in studying. During the next monthly exam, she actually improved by over 100 points. Her parents were so thrilled they invited David and me over for dinner. Halfway through the meal, they even tried to make me their godson. Anna stopped them immediately. She frowned. "No way. If you really want to adopt someone, find another way." "Okay." I scratched my head awkwardly and lowered my gaze to pet the golden retriever by my feet. The dog nuzzled up to me adorably, and I couldn't help feeding it a piece of meat. It got so excited it did 2 backflips in a row. See? Even a dog knows how to be grateful. Some people don't. Chapter 9. With the exam coming up, I buckled down and focused entirely on my study plan. Willow gradually faded from my line of sight. We crossed paths again at the entrance of the PE storage room. The teacher had sent me to grab some basketballs for class. Just as I got there, I saw her standing at the door. Willow had her head down, the corners of her eyes red, like she'd been hit with a massive blow. The storage room door was half open, and from inside I could clearly hear Makoto talking with one of his friends. Makoto's friend said, "Makoto, you actually dare to eat what she gave you? Her dad's a lunatic, who knows if she's carrying some kind of virus." Makoto replied, "Illiterate. Huh? What virus are you even talking about?" Makoto's voice drifted lazily as he said, "That's genetics. It's mostly hereditary, but whatever. I'm just playing around." His friend burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha. But she seems pretty serious though. I heard she even went to work at a KTV as a hostess just to help you with your living expenses. That's hilarious. She's a goddess to others but you're simp." Makoto responded, "You should learn from me. Girls like her are just cheap. The nicer you are to them, the less it works." Makoto sneered and added, "Oh right. Don't say any of this in front of her. Just act all innocent. I'm not done playing with her yet." Willow's hand trembled around the lunchbox she was holding. "Hurts, doesn't it? Seeing your so-called prince fall off his pedestal. Honestly, she had it coming." Hearing what Makoto said, it hit me. With his personality, he probably never wrote Willow that love letter in the past. He just said that to make me the scapegoat. And this time, I had no interest in being dragged into their stupid, messy drama. I turned to leave, but Willow grabbed my sleeve. I said bluntly, "Let go." She bit her lip hard and looked up at me. Her once cold eyes were now filled with hate. She asked, "You're the one who spread the news about my dad, weren't you? George, are you happy now? Is this what love means to you? Sabotaging my relationship with him just so you can have me?" I didn't waste time. I kicked her away, hard. 10 years of living together. Even if we had no love, there should have been at least some basic trust. But good thing is, I had already stopped expecting anything from her. I stared down at her coldly. "Willow, are you paranoid or just completely delusional? You told everyone about your dad yourself on your first day at this school. Me, like you. What kind of fantasy are you living in?" I think Makoto was right. Girls like you are just trash. Only good for messing around. God forbid anyone take you seriously. Chapter 10. To my surprise, Willow didn't argue back. It was as if something inside her had completely crumbled. She slowly slid down against the wall, like her body had lost all strength, and ended up sitting limply on the floor. I looked down at her from above, feeling an inexplicable sense of satisfaction. I knew this feeling well, watching someone you once loved rot away right in front of your eyes. It was exactly how I'd felt when I opened the door to the art studio in our last life. Funny how the tables turn. Her messy hair drifted across her face, and she kept her eyes downcast, expression blank and numb. She leaned against the wall like a shattered piece of fine jade, beautiful, yet broken, lonely, pathetic. I studied her hopeless expression with relish. Honestly, I wanted to take a photo of it, so the next time I was feeling down, I could pull it up and have a good laugh. Suddenly, she chuckled, and just like that, the laughter turned into tears that spilled down her cheeks. Had she finally gone insane? I heard her whisper through broken sobs, "It was my fault. I shouldn't have." In that instant, I knew. Willow had figured it out. Deep down, she must have already noticed Makoto wasn't who she thought he was, but she'd poured so much of her heart into that illusion over the past 10 years that she couldn't bear to face the truth, so she kept lying to herself. And now, that fantasy had shattered in the most brutal way possible. She didn't want to believe it. She didn't want to admit that she'd thrown away her whole life for someone like him. So what did she do? Blamed me instead. I looked at her red-rimmed eyes and let out a cold laugh. In every lifetime, Willow was always the same shameless girl. No accountability. Always finding someone else to blame. I didn't want to watch her spiral into guilt and madness anymore, so I turned around and walked away without hesitation, leaving her behind, crying and laughing to herself like a lunatic. Chapter 11. I'm not as dumb as Willow. With this second chance at life, I wasn't going to waste it on people who weren't worth it, or ruin myself over something that never mattered. I'd already convinced my parents to invest in several upcoming industries with huge potential. I also helped David pull his grades up significantly. In our previous life, not getting into his dream school was his biggest regret. This time, he'd finally have his shot. Everything was moving in the right direction. After that day, I heard Willow and Makoto had a big falling out, but that had nothing to do with me. The only thing that did concern me was this. She stopped chasing after Makoto and started actually studying. Damn it, why'd she have to start competing with me now? She'd taken this exam in the last life, she probably still remembered some of the questions. If I wanted to beat her, I'd have to work even harder. David and Anna both noticed my shift in energy, but neither of them said a word. They let me be. On exam day, I walked out of the testing center feeling light. The sun was just warm enough, spilling onto the pavement like a sleepy cat stretched out in the afternoon. Quiet and peaceful. The test had gone smoothly. I could finally breathe. Anna and David were waiting for me at the gate. Anna waved when she saw me. The wind lifted a few strands of her hair, and for a moment, she looked like the embodiment of youthful brightness. I walked toward them with quick steps. She lowered her eyes and handed me a bottle of water. Her once feisty gaze was now calm and gentle. I smiled and said, "Let's go, my treat for dinner." After we ate, we spent the whole afternoon messing around at an amusement park. I hadn't felt this happy in a long time. Ever since I came back to life, I'd been living under constant pressure. But today, finally, I felt something close to peace. It was like all the stress and noise had melted away. A strange lightness seeped into my body, like it was flowing straight through my pores and into my blood. I felt like I had truly come back to life. Chapter 12. In the days that followed, I unexpectedly became the most idle person in our group. Every day, I was sent to get food for David and Anna. This morning, David had made a big fuss about craving the beef hand-pulled noodles from the south gate of campus. So, during lunch break, like the loyal errand boy I was, I trudged over to get it. Just as I stepped out the school gate, I brushed past a familiar thug. I heard him say, "Yeah, we already took care of that girl. Doubt she'll dare talk back anymore. But hey, once you're done with her, don't forget to let us brothers have a turn, yeah." He climbed into a van with a few cronies, swaggering like he owned the place. And then it hit me. That guy was one of Makoto's street buddies. Curious, I turned down the nearby alley, and there, next to the trash bins, lay Willow, her body covered in bruises. Ah, so she was the one they took care of. Well done, boys. A+ job. Honestly, I was starting to think maybe I cursed her somehow. How else could I always show up right at the exact moment she hits rock bottom, just in time to laugh in her face? I looked down at Willow lying on the ground and casually lifted my leg, ready to step right over her. But then, she reached out and grabbed my pant leg. Still alive. What a shame. Her eyes were glazed, like she couldn't tell dream from reality. She trembled as she said, "George, it's you again, saving me." I replied coldly, "Let go." Her fingers were filthy, and honestly, it grossed me out. But she clung on tight, so I bent down and pried her fingers off, one by one. Her lashes fluttered. She stared at me with this disgusting, wistful look in her eyes. Then, biting her lip, she said, "George, have you played hard to get enough? I'm willing to give you a chance to save me now. Back then, I misjudged people, but now I realize you were the only one who truly cared for me. Let's make up, okay?" I froze for a second. Wait, she hadn't realized I was reborn too. I'd never even tried to hide it, but she just assumed that I was still the old George, the one who would always lower himself for her, no matter what. She thought all my changes were just games to get her attention. How brain dead could someone be? I lost all patience. Without hesitation, I stood up and stepped right onto the hand she was trying to grab me with. She cried out in pain, cold sweat breaking across her forehead. "If you can't speak like a decent human being, don't blame me for acting like a monster." As I slowly ground my heel into her fingers, I said calmly, "Willow, you got a second chance at life, and this is the best you can do." Her pupils shrank in an instant, and her face turned ghostly pale. She bit her lip and stammered, "George, wait, you're also." I didn't care to hear the rest. I lifted my foot, turned around, and walked away. Chapter 13. That night, as usual, I stayed behind to help the homeroom teacher grade papers. On my way home, it started to rain. The raindrops were fine and dense. The air was thick with that salty, damp scent that just wouldn't go away. It made my chest feel tight and my mind restless. Just as I was about to enter my building, I noticed a slender figure standing in front of my window. I live on the ground floor. That person wasn't holding an umbrella, just stood there silently, facing my place without moving an inch. As I got closer, I realized it was Willow. What a damn nuisance. Through the curtain of rain, I saw the sorrow in her eyes, so thick it was almost suffocating. When she saw me return, she instinctively took a step toward me, but the disgust on my face stopped her in her tracks. She froze, expression stunned and wounded. She said, "George, I'm sorry." Raindrops kept pounding on her body like they were trying to break her last bit of pride. After all this time, I finally got an apology, but I couldn't care less. I frowned, noted, "Now get lost." She didn't move, just stood there quietly, her eyes red-rimmed. Choking on her words, she said, "When I stood on the rooftop that day, I felt so hopeless. I thought I'd lost my true love forever. But as I jumped, the only person who came to mind was you. Makoto was just an obsession I couldn't let go of. George, the person I really love is you." I let out a cold laugh. Me. Then why was the first thing you did after being reborn to chase after Makoto? I planned surprises and gifts for your birthday. What did you ever do for me? You made him breakfast every day, stayed by his side when he was sick. What did you ever do for me? You call that love? I kept my voice even, but Willow's face kept getting paler. And honestly, I said, you're just pathetic. Willow closed her eyes like the words had physically struck her. Her voice was strangled, barely above a whisper. George, I know you hate me, but we were together for 10 years. Please, give me one more chance. Let's start over, okay? I took a deep breath, trying to calm down, but the fury I'd buried all those years in my past life exploded at once. I snapped. Give you a chance? You think you fucking deserve one? Smack. I slapped her hard across the face. Through clenched teeth, I hissed. My biggest regret was wasting 10 years on you. Bravo. Willow, you really played the long game. Huh? Even in death, you made sure to donate all your assets. Except, guess what? That money wasn't even yours. It was mine. You used my money to build yourself a noble legacy. To leave behind a fake, glowing reputation so people could blame me for driving you to suicide. Congratulations. Willow, when you jumped off that building, did it ever occur to you to give me a chance? To give our child a chance? Her head hung lower and lower. Until suddenly, at the last sentence, she shot her head up to look at me. She asked, Child? What child? She took a panicked step forward, eyes wide in confusion. And then, like something clicked, she froze completely. I chuckled bitterly. Yeah, 1 month along, the coroner told me. Even you probably didn't know, right? What kind of life could we have had? I said quietly. Each word sharper than the last. I wouldn't know. Because even I got killed, by your precious soulmate and your best friend. Of course, I wasn't sure I actually died. I only said it to hurt her. Finally, Willow couldn't take it anymore. She crouched down, covering her face with both hands, sobbing uncontrollably. I stepped around her and went inside, watching her cry her heart out through the window. I felt nothing but satisfaction. Good. I wasn't the only one who deserved to suffer. Chapter 14. Willow took a leave of absence. I got accepted into a university on guaranteed admission. Double the good news. When the announcement came out, David wanted to rub it in Willow's face. Too bad he couldn't find her anywhere. With no one to brag to, he poured all his energy into studying instead. His grades shot up like a rocket. What once felt like a dream school was now just his safety net. After getting my spot guaranteed, I barely showed up at school anymore. Only occasionally dropped off review materials for David and Anna. Anna said she wanted to go to a university with me. But come on, a university isn't something you just decide to get into. Still, the attitude was admirable. So I handed her a full set of 5 to 3 workbooks. Anna puffed up her cheeks. George. Without even looking up, I tossed another 10 sets of practice exams her way. What? I asked. Something wrong? She huffed. Only 10. Add more. That's nowhere near enough. I was speechless. Chapter 15. The next time I heard about Willow was months later. She stabbed Makoto and Sophia, 8 times each. Not a single wound was fatal. Both were sent to the ICU and remained in comas. The police searched for Willow for 3 days. No sign of her, dead or alive. Teachers and classmates were shocked by how cruel she had become. Only I wasn't surprised. Deep down, I always knew she was a lunatic. The police questioned her teachers and classmates. I was one of them. After returning from the station, I pulled out my key to unlock the door. Suddenly, whack! Someone hit me from behind with a heavy stick. Everything went dark. When I came to, I was tied to a chair, on the rooftop of an abandoned building. My hands were bound tight. The wind howled across the roof, sending dead leaves and grit flying through the air. Willow sat at the edge of the rooftop, dressed in a white gown. Her back was to me, her legs swinging over the edge. I had no idea what she was thinking. I tried to wriggle free from the ropes, sensing the movement. Willow turned around. She lit the candles on the table, one by one. That's when I noticed. The table was filled with all my favorite dishes. She sat beside me. Half her face was glowing in the candlelight, the other half swallowed by shadow. What the hell kind of scene was this supposed to be? I asked. What the hell are you doing? She smiled softly, her gaze calm, but there was something unhinged buried deep in her eyes. She whispered, Honey, did you forget? We never celebrated our anniversary. Anniversary, my ass. She was completely insane. I stared at her and said flatly, Enough. Willow, this ends now. You won't be able to hide much longer. She acted like she didn't hear me. Quietly, she poured me a bowl of soup and said gently, I made your favorite, pork rib soup. Come on, try some. I couldn't take it anymore. Willow, I interrupted coldly. Did you lose your memory? Need me to jog it for you? Her hand froze midair. I continued. On our so-called anniversary, You borrowed a camcorder so you could confess your love to Makoto on tape. Then you jumped off the 18th floor for him. You said you were looking forward to meeting him again. Somewhere among the stars and the sea. Ring any bells? My tone was full of mockery. Willow's eyes turned red in an instant. Willow threw herself into my arms. Her cheek pressed against my chest. In a soft, spoiled tone, she said, "Let's just enjoy today, okay? No more fighting." She knew me too well after all these years. Back then, all it took was her acting a little cute, and I'd cave. But now, all I felt was disgust. I kicked over the dinner table. The wine bottle tipped and spilled across the table. Deep red liquid soaking through her dress. She didn't flinch, didn't even get mad. She just stared at me, dark, heavy eyes like she was trying to etch the moment into her soul. She said, "Time is running out, husband." Her lips curled into a faint smile. Her dark pupils were calm, like the stillness before a storm. Time. A sense of unease crept over me. Sensing my tension, she shook her head and said softly, "I'm not going to do anything drastic. Like hell I believe you." Luckily, just then, sirens rang out in the distance. I let out a breath. Back at the police station, I'd asked them to plant a GPS tracker on me. Coming home alone was all part of the plan, to lure Willow out. She leaned close and kissed my forehead like it was a final goodbye. I heard her whisper, "Honey, how did we end up like this?" "Oh, please." Like she didn't know. If she hadn't been so obsessed with Makoto, maybe we'd be a happy little family right now. But that's not how life works. And thank God for that. A blinding white spotlight suddenly lit up the rooftop. I squinted. A second later, red laser dots appeared on Willow's chest. She stood up, gave me one last reluctant look, and began slowly backing away. I looked up, meeting her gaze. There was no fear, only peace. And in that moment, my skin crawled. She knew it was all a setup, and she had no intention of running. At the edge of the rooftop, she stopped. She gave me a soft, comforting smile, quiet, and utterly hopeless. She said, "Honey, I'll redeem myself with my own life." "Like hell you will," I shouted. "Willow, don't you dare." Why did she get the easy way out? She didn't deserve release. She killed herself. She killed our child. She ruined me. She should rot in prison, not escape with a single leap. She whispered, "I love you, George." The rooftop wind carried her voice and tossed her hair. And then, she leaned back. For a moment, I was back in that summer afternoon. The air was hot and damp. The old school walls cracked and peeling. A girl tilted her head at me under the buzzing fan. Her ears tinged red, her voice clear and soft. "George, do you like me?" Chapter 16. After the college entrance exam, we all went our separate ways. David did well and got into S University in the neighboring city. We still met up occasionally during long holidays. Anna missed the A University cutoff by a few dozen points. She could have gone to a decent school, but she chose to repeat the year instead. I mailed her the full set of the latest edition of 5 to 3 prep books. She was so mad. She didn't reply for 3 days. Sophia and Makoto's injuries were too severe. Both ended up in a vegetative state, and never even made it to the exam. College life was busy, but fulfilling. I tried out all sorts of things I never dared to in my last life. Was I more successful than before? Not necessarily, but I was happy. And happiness is one of the rarest, most magical abilities of all. Even though my last life was filled with hardship and pain, it didn't stop me from falling in love with this world all over again. Second year, start of the new semester. As a student council officer, I was helping welcome the freshmen. A few guys went over to try and add a cute new girl on WeChat. She smiled and politely turned them all down. I patted one of the guys on the shoulder and grinned. Amateurs, watch and learn. In the sunlight, Anna was dragging her suitcase. Her gaze cut through the crowd and locked with mine. I asked, "Hey, freshman, wanna add me on WeChat? My chubby orange cat can do backflips. You're gonna love him."